There's an interesting post that came across my desk and told me that I gotta make a video about it. And so, here we are. It's about comparing the two big-time young quarterbacks that's going to be potentially battling the SEC for supremacy. That is Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma and Nico Iamaleava over at Tennessee, right? Both of them came out of the 23 class. Both of them were top 10 prospects, top 5 quarterbacks in the country. Shockingly, Jackson Arnold was the only 5-star plus because ESPN put Nico down to like 23rd nationally, even though that's technically upon the 5-star parameters, but I digress. We won't be defending that. Let's talk about who's going to have the best season next year in their first year starting. Of course, I had to dive into the debate because we're not going to just walk in and show our biases. We're going to look at the data, look at the number, and see who's set up best to be successful. Before we do that, welcome to Unfair Sports. I'm your host, Jay. Thank y'all for pulling up to the channel. If you like fan pricing, check out our partnership with Autograph app. Founded by the GOAT Tom Brady, they're there to give you all the best pricing for fans for tickets, all the news aggregated into one place from some of your favorite sources, all within the app. And the best part is the app is free. So make sure you check that out. Link in the description below. Hit that promo code UNFAIRSports and let them know that I sent you. But let's dive into a comparison of Nico versus Jackson Arnold. So let's look at the comparison of the two. So, both of these two highly touted recruits played last season for their teams. Both of them put in about 5 games. Nico started against Iowa in the bowl game. Jackson Arnold played against Arizona. I mean, if you really look at the numbers itself, I'd say that Jackson Arnold outperformed Nico in the bowl game, even though he threw the 3 interceptions, still had over 300 yards passing, and was out there cooking. And if the fumbles didn't happen, that game should have been won. But Nico did very well against a strong Iowa defense. I mean, of course, his defense held Iowa to no points because Iowa does not like to play offense. They punt on first down so they can get back on defense. But he scored 35 points. He had over 150 yards passing, 151 to be exact, with a passing touchdown, and he rushed for 3 touchdowns also. And so, but he looked solid, 63% from that game. Jackson Arnold was in like the 50s, 57% in pass. But the question going into this is that I can't, just immediately say, oh, this player is going to be better than the other. I had to dive into the data. So, of course, we pulled up the numbers for that game. And I guess the thing that jumps out for me is, first off, who are they going to be throwing the ball to? And then what that offensive line look like, right? Because that's the two things to me that is going to tell us the most about who's going to be able to have the best season. Now, run game wise, Tennessee is replacing their top running back. Jalen Wright is gone to the draft, so they have to replace that. Whereas Oklahoma's got Gavin Sawchuk coming back, who ran for 700 yards. And they're also, Javonte Barnes still there. He should be healthy with a slew of running backs there. Also for Tennessee, Dylan Sampson's coming back, who ran for 700 yards last year as well, right behind Wright. So that Heupel offense, as high octane as it is, they run a lot too, just like Lebby did. They both came the same tree because Lebby was underneath Heupel. So that tells me, all right, we got to start looking at some of the details with it. And so for Oklahoma, the thing that helps Oklahoma going into this is that they're walking in with bringing back more production on the pass game, right? So Tennessee is losing out. They brought back the top receiver, Squirrel White, 6 to 7 catches, 803 yards. But he only had 2 touchdowns on the season. They lost Ramel Caton, who was one of their deep threats, and the 6 touchdowns that he scored. It's going to be a huge loss for them. Whereas Oklahoma lost their top receiver statistically in Drake Stoops, 84 catches, 962 yards. But bringing back Nick Anderson at 38 catches for 798, one of the biggest deep threats in college football. Average yards per catch, absurd. And he brought in 10 touchdowns, right? Then the veteran wide receiver with Jalil Farouk coming back at 694 yards additionally. This one here, Andrell Anthony, who we lost with the ACL tear, 429 yards and a touchdown, and he looked like he was going to break out after transferring in Oklahoma from Michigan. Tennessee is bringing back Brew McCoy, who had 17 catches for 217. He was going to have another breakout season. This will be in his second season at wide receiver for Tennessee, but he fractured his ankle in the season and he's also going to be returning from injury. So there's a lot of similarities in what both teams are dealing with. I think the big difference is Squirrel's fast, and he's also super possessive, whereas Nick Anderson is fast and just a beast in his route running. He's getting better on that. And then they bring Dante Thornton, who transferred in from Oregon, 13 catches for 224. So numbers-wise, Tennessee's bringing back about 1,700 yards in production, just under 1,800. Oklahoma's bringing back 2,500 in receiver production, with 20 of their 34 touchdowns coming back, whereas Tennessee only has 7 of their 22 coming back, right? So it appears that Oklahoma wide receiver-wise is definitely have the edge, and I would put Oklahoma's wide receiver room against anybody because you still got, like I said, Nick Anderson, Jaleel Farouk, Andrew Anthony looks like he's getting back healthy, and Jaden Gibson in the speed threat with Brendan Thompson. That, to me, is a huge room for Oklahoma, whereas Tennessee is bringing in, like, the transfer Chris Brazzell from Tulane, the 6'5", player. He's going to bring them some talent there too. So it's not like Tennessee's going out there starting from scratch like or Oklahoma. Both of them have pretty solid receiver rooms. And the good thing is we know that Nico and Jackson Arnold work with both of these rooms, so it's going to be a close one. But I think Oklahoma has the edge there just because of the top tier talent that they're bringing back and the numbers they're bringing in. 2,500, 131 catches for 2,500 yards is absurd, right? That's a pretty darn good job. But the offensive line tells a different story, where this is where Tennessee gets a little bit of an edge as far as what they're bringing back. Tennessee is bringing back over 3,000 snaps on the offensive line. 3,000. With 3 guys over 500 snaps on the season in Javonte Spraggins, John Campbell Jr., and Cooper Mays. Right? That's a guard, tackle, and a center, where Oklahoma is replacing basically majority of that. Now, Jacob Sexton was able to get himself a good amount of snaps as he got healthy, over 400, and then 300 snaps from Troy Everett, who looks like he's solidifying himself as that center at over 300 pounds, too. Tennessee's had over 3,000 snaps coming back, where Oklahoma only has 871 combined. That's a huge gap in experience on the offensive line, but at the same time, Tennessee's dealt with a lot of injuries on that offensive line. So that's where that question comes in, Which one truly is bringing in the most talent? Who's bringing in the ones that they feel like is going to be the most effective for them, right? That's where that big question comes in. And as I looked at it, I'm like, man, I may say that Nico has the better situation set up, but I'm also very heavy on the Jackson Arnold train because he's also got Bill Bedenbaugh as his offensive line coach, who has produced some of the best offensive lines in not only college football, but sends a lot of dudes to the league. I mean, we took Wanye Morris from Tennessee and got that man drafted in the 3rd round. So, and he actually got some snaps with Kansas City last year. I digress. So if I have to tell you who I think's going to have the better season, who's going to look the best next year, Josh Heupel's offense is very quarterback friendly, especially for a player like Nico and his talents. It might be Nico leading with the better season next year. But I'm going to put it all on Jackson Arnold, right? I put it on Arnold because I think Arnold's going to throw a hell of a lot more than Nico. The question is how many rushing yards will Nico Iamaleava is going to have that this season compared to Jackson, right? I think that Nico's going to do a lot more scrambling in comparison because I think he's more of an athlete. But I think Jackson Arnold statistically is going to have the better season with the way that Luttrell's offense is going to be set. This dude's going to be airing it out a lot. Now, Heupel's going to probably have Nico doing the same. And Heupel's one of those great offensive minds. I think Jackson Arnold, as the Gatorade Player of the Year, has the higher ceiling. I think that he's the one that's a little bit more polished. I'm going with Jackson Arnold. Hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. I know that bias just popped in there on y'all. But no, I really do think that Jackson Arnold's going to have the better season. I think that both of them will be in Heisman contention over the next couple of years. Because I think Nico has that type of talent where he's going to be a threat in everything that he does. Which I love about his game. But I think that Jackson Arnold's going to be a little bit more polished and ready to go. made this far, like the content, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Love for you to join this family of college football fans, talking a lot of OU football, college football in general, having a blast doing it. So, check out one of these other videos. And yeah, fight in the comments for me. We'll talk soon.